triangle, we got these three, well, four new cards at the top. We got our lovely Heal Guardian, which I don't think I'll go much into yet. Like, the skill is pretty simple. Everyone should know it. If you're just starting to get into the game, essentially it's a grade 3 heal trigger that all clans can put into their deck, as long as you have one. And when it's placed from Guardian Circle, if you did not ride a grade 3 or greater despite, you can choose your Vanguard and do one of the following. Well, you can do one of the following. So you can choose your Vanguard, and one of them is you can choose your Vanguard, sorry, and it can get 10,000 power to the end of turn. So that means you can be at a permanent 19k or 20k or greater, depending if you're using this at premium. And you can choose your opponent's Vanguard. It can get -2 critical to the end of battle. So these two effects allow people to actually survive in the early game and not get curb stomped by faster decks or decks that have a lot of power on their grade 3 ride, which is really helpful. And the second effect is when this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle from hand, if you have no cards in your damage zone, put the top card of your deck into the damage zone. So this just prevents you from having 0 damage and having to like not have any counterblast to do skills. So for Bermuda, the counterblast isn't as needed as much, since well, it is, but it's not as explosive as it was before, or more so in premium. I want to talk about this card. So Miracle Cycle Archaea. So this card is meant to be for Highlander Reindeer, but you can't use it in other decks. So her skill is Vanguard Circle once a turn. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked. Choose 3 normal units, each from your RC, and draw. And if you choose cards with different names, stand this unit and put the chosen cards from the bottom on the bottom of your deck in any order. Same as Clarissa's Artist. I see. So for this unit, it is a tech and reindeer just to restand, which I haven't actually tested her. I was playing Highlander a bit yesterday on CFA, and I was surprised that I completely forgot about this card. But anyway, the only issue with her is that she's so costly. Like 3 rear guards on your rear guard circle and 3 cards from your drop zone. Like in the Highlander deck, that isn't as painful, but there are more powerful targets to ride from your deck instead of her. She's kind of like a last option. I'm not gonna say she's bad. It's just that I haven't actually tested her yet. And in other decks, not really seen as much, or not even as a tech, because of the condition is so required. Alright, so we have the grade 1 of this set, Reliable Faith Luzeros. So she has 2 continuous skills. Rearguard Circle, Guardian Circle. If you have 2 or more force markers, this unit gets 5,000 power and 5,000 shield. And the second effect is, if you have 3 or more force markers, this unit gets intercept, and it can intercept from the back row. So, I know I said in the past, like, oh, this card is kind of bad, it's not enough space. After like testing Rafi a lot, it just plain messing around, this card isn't really bad. So with Luzeros, the shield is really nice. It isn't effective early game. That was my only, well, that's what I was saying before about you don't get that much shield early game, and in decks that can't generate more than 2 force markers, like Invert for example, or Mirror, you have to re-ride and get a force marker. But decks that can create multiple force markers on turn 3, this instantly gets activated. So I'm not going to say it's a bad card. I think it's a pretty good one. Luzeros isn't a bad card to gain shield, especially in decks that need it, and like a continuous 13k boost is fine too. It just increases your power. And being able to intercept for the back row saves you hand, actually. Like, there are times where I had 2 of her in the back row, and my opponent doesn't, like, retire, bind, or lock. So I just call them to Guardian Circle, and it's fine. It helps. I think she'll get better in the future, especially since we're getting another version of Rafi. So, this is in the context of V Premium, not Premium. So, if V Premium, this is pretty good. And the one I've been talking about the most, Single Quiet Rafter, I really did. Or, that's how it was pronounced, but I'm just going to call it Rafi. So, I'm just going to cut short with this. So, basically, she has 2 skills. Counterboss 1, discard a card, rest her. If you have 4 less force markers, you create 2 force markers. And you do the following based on how many force markers you have. Meaning, if you have a different RC, so if you have 5 different force markers on different RC, you could look at that many cards at the top of the deck. Well, not look, reveal, and activate all trigger effects, and you put them into your hand. Then the second effect is, if your opponent is grade 2 or greater, all of your grade 2 or less units in rear guard circles with force markers can attack from the back row. So, I remember I was like, this is a back and forth card for me. So I remember when she was revealed, I was like really happy. I started testing it and I got like kind of sad because it wasn't as good as I thought. And then I started like messing around with different cards, and like there's been some interesting lists with her that popped up. And like right now, this card is like, in my personal opinion, she's good in some aspects if you get lucky with triggers. But if not, if you're not getting like the 5 drive, she's kind of mediocre, as in other clans can start to scale above her. Now, the second effect with your grade 2s being able to tap her back row, I think that will become greater in the future when we get released with more powerful cards that are grade 2 or lower. The issue that I was having with the second skill is that not a lot of grade 2s hit a lot of big numbers, like hit thresholds by themselves. Like Agravale on the Excel 2 marker, that's hitting 24k. That's a really good number, or even higher in Excel 1. And other cards from other clans that are grade 2s can hit even higher numbers than Bermuda's. Like, the most I think you can get is 25k, but it's more higher if you have Solidia that copies the Vanguard's like base, power even for force markers, but in this deck you're gonna put them to rear guard anyway. So I'm not gonna say she's a bad card until we see what her reversed version does, just because of the fact that on your turn 3 turn, if you're going first with her, you're only getting 2 attacks. The other sort of big, you get 3 drive checks, but you're not putting as much pressure as like other decks that go turn 3, you know? But that might change from the new set coming up.